Hey Algebra 1, this is Q4 Week 2 vocabulary video. So we're going to take what were working on last week with our slope-intercept form and linear functions, and we are going to start translating these into some real-world ideas. So we're going to see how does our y-intercept and our slope actually translate into things in the real world. So our vocabulary for this week is going to be maybe a little shorter. First word we want to talk about is initial value. So initial value is actually just, for our purposes in Algebra 1, going to be a synonym for our y-intercept. Remember, synonym from English class is a word that has the same meaning. So it's a synonym for the y-intercept. Remember what we said about the y-intercept? It's where we always start. It's the last number in our equation, but it's where we start. So initial is like the beginning, like your initials are the first letters in your name. So it's the starting value. So we can find the starting value in a couple of different ways. If this was like a regular equation, something in the form of y equals mx plus b, this last number, the b, is our initial value. It's our y-intercept. It's our starting value. Each of those things means the same thing. If I was looking on a graph, so if I move this a little bit, I'll draw a little graph example for us. So if I'm looking on a graph, let's say I have this graph right here, and it starts down here at -1 and goes up to and right 1. So my line will fit right about here. So if I'm looking for the initial value of this, I want to look at the y-intercept. So my vertical axis is my y-axis. So this point right here is my y-intercept. So in this example, I would say my initial value is -1. So if I wanted to put that into an equation, I could. Or maybe this is like a scenario like you start and you owe $1 to somebody, and then every day you're going to pay off $2. So that could be just a random scenario that would fit. You owe $1, so that's why you're at -1. And we go from there. So let's now talk about rate of change. So next word to talk about, rate of change. Let's get some more space here. Rate of change is how fast or slow something is changing. Can be positive or negative. So we said initial value was a synonym for something we've already talked about. Well, rate of change is also a synonym. It's a synonym for, well, we already did y-intercept, so it has to be a synonym for slope. So if I'm looking at our y equals mx plus b formula, Our rate of change is going to be found right here. It's that first number in front of the x. That is how much something is changing. If it's increasing, it'll be a positive slope. If it's decreasing, it's a negative slope. We could also look at it on a graph. So if I had a little graph example here, we can go with the same graph we had last time. It had a y-intercept of -1, and then the slope was up to right 1. So my line would be right here. So I look and see, what is my slope? Rise over run. It's rising 2 and running 1. So my slope is 2, or my rate of change is 2 over 1. I like to talk about rate of change as a ratio, which is the same thing as a fraction. So I would say for every 2, it goes up, it goes right 1. And in our next video, we will look at some examples where we kind of put this together with what it actually means in the real world. So this will make a lot more sense once you get to the end of the next video. As usual, make sure you took notes on this, write down any questions you have, and hopefully I will see you on Zoom soon.